A tier, a stream for B tier, and a stream for C tier. Hi Gemby, how's it going? Welcome in.
Hey Gemby.
I do actually, I was going to show you guys, but I'm not on a webcam. I do have like a Google Doc of notes this time to hopefully stay a little bit more on track for GG first. To hopefully stay a little bit more on track and not just like watching the entire game at 4x speed over and over again. We will watch a decent amount of the games, but we'll just go ahead and get right into it. First match of B tier, and B1 specifically, is Adore versus Arank. Adore and Arank are both joining us from Season 2, and are both pretty experienced players at this point. But we do see pretty decent double synergies on this board, first and foremost. It also appears to me, just looking at this board, that there is a lot of incredibly fast bingo lines, specifically the top row, but also there's a pretty good diagonal as well. So both players are pushing their own lines at the start of the game. The first highlight that I should skip to is here. So after grabbing a couple of early stages, Arank is working on the Get Me Out Rescue minigame, while Adore is sticking it out in Mortal 2. Thankfully, Mortal 2 is a pretty lenient game to gold disc. Yes, it's okay. This may have also been for 6 enemy types, but Zachary specifically wanted to highlight her using the climb the way that it's intended. For those that don't know, this is one of the many ways to get to the end of the game up here. But you don't typically see all switches pressed, so you normally don't see people actually make that climb. So, meanwhile, on Arank's end, we have... I'm going to have to go back and rewind that just a little bit. So we have Arank working on test bags while Adore's working on her Mortal 2 run. And this goal specifically needs you to use special shots all the time to gain points. And right there we saw Arank reset. We looked at it after the game, and it turns out that Arank didn't actually have to reset right there. And it was strictly Coach being a little mean and just throwing the beanbag right away. So unfortunately that ends up costing Arank a little bit of extra time here.
Give it a full comp.
And some water. Turns out water's important. Thank you.
Sorry, clearing your throat is actually worse than talking.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I learned that when I have bronchitis.
Today we all learned.
Yeah.
So while... Okay. While Arank was able to get test bags, it was delayed just a little bit because of that unfortunate reset. But while Adore is eventually able to get this... we'll skip forward a little bit more. So at this point, Arank is working on a pretty tricky goal that seemed to be showing up kind of everywhere this week of Devilish and clear the screen of demons with at least 18 pieces remaining. This goal does feel a little RNG dependent, but I guess like you can kind of mitigate it a little bit by playing intelligently and kind of giving yourself good pieces on the round where you're actually ready to. Which is what we typically see with top tier players in Devolution, is you'll sort of try to set yourself up a little bit better.
Just put it away too.
Oh. So, for instance, in a ranks case here, they set themselves up really nicely to be able to get this with plenty of pieces left. Would have even cleared the old goal with that one. And they're able to go up 6-3, but you'll notice that while I was talking through that, Adore was able to make some pretty major progress in camouflage during that time. Depending on where you, our door is able to get through these levels, but they are looking like very slightly more unrouted than a ranks, who's seemingly pretty comfortable in camouflage. But with the extra advantage that she had of being in here a little bit earlier, and also already having a Mortal 2 gold disc, this is setting up for what ends up being a pretty nasty top row bingo threat, if Adore is able to get through here quickly enough.
Hi Vex, is Choose doing better?
Hi Vex, I hope Choose is doing better. If not, I heard that he was not doing well today and it made me sad. So while our rank was able to pretty valiantly catch up here, to be honest, only being one level behind, that did end up being a pretty costly snipe and allowed Adore to enter this top row bingo push with a pretty significant advantage, which then immediately sets up a very quick Campanella 2 race. And then also worth mentioning, by the way, during a little bit of that fast forward, that Adore was holding gold discs, specifically in case a rank may have been working on there. And then further intensifying the Camp 2 necessity. All you have to do is get through Burrows 2 and then get to a shop of any kind in the next level. That's a pretty fast Camp 2 goal, honestly. That's good to hear, Vex. And then in 35 minutes and 50 seconds of real time, Dora was able to bust out that top row bingo. A lot of really good quick goals on that, and also set herself up nicely by just playing the goals that were there and pushing it pretty aggressively. We saw a lot of these like very early bingo pushes in games earlier this season, and honestly before that bingo push, a rank was setting themselves up pretty nicely for a couple of bingo threats of their own. But unfortunately, if you're not careful, there can be a bingo line that kind of sneaks in there like that just gets pretty fast. So GG to Adore for seeing that, and sorry, rank. For what it's worth, this was a very good game and very back and forth, and both players played really well, so even though it was over quick, I still had fun reviewing that one. He was so good at not your normal vet. Hell yeah. That's great news.
Aww. Poor baby. I hope he feels better soon. I hope he can pee soon.
I hope so too.
I would certainly be in distress if that was me.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that everything came back looking okay.
Me too. Alright, so next up is the first and only game of Season 1 I've actually casted so far, because I've been pretty busy these past couple of weeks. We have Karma versus Rolling Away. This is a really fun game between two competitors that haven't actually, as far as I know, played a game against each other yet. And this is technically Karma's first league, like official league game, I guess, but she's been in the off-season stuff for a while now, so definitely two very experienced bingo players, like overall, but I think the first time that they've matched up to my knowledge. So starting off, I was absolutely stoked to see a Quibble Race Cherry Disc as the center square on this board. Quibble Race Cherry Disc is a pretty fun space, apparently, in Bingo, and getting my first match cast with it being center square and a couple of pretty quick goals is always pretty fun. So both players grab some pretty quick early goals here before we get... I'll just leave it here. And actually, I think for the first time, I'm going to slow this down because this ends up being a pretty hype race. Both players are here in Valve Race and basically starting at the exact same time. Roll has like very slightly more progress, but not particularly. And both players could use this corner square for Karma's block and setting up diagonals of her own, and for Roll for being able to push the bottom row. So as we get a little bit farther into this goal, both players are on floor 1 here, and basically just at the whim of whatever Valve Race happens to give as like essence drops.
Really made me focus on everything.
Yeah.
My entire life, you know.
I guess it's good to know that Karma's screen was a little cut off. I'll have to be careful about that for next cast. But this essentially just comes down to comfort and Valve Race mixed with like a little bit of good luck. But with that encounter, it's essentially tied as both players only need 200 essence, and it's tied 180, or pretty much tied 180 to 185. And both get the exact same encounter here and kill it pretty much as quick. And friendly reminder, by the way, that players when playing UFO 50 Bingo don't actually know what each other are in. But look at this. Walking to the throne as Karma marks off the throne.
Jesus. Neck and neck.
Yep.
Oh my god.
That's why I had to slow that one down from
Look
4x,
at their
because that was one of the most intense races I've had the pleasure of casting, and it happened like right away. Yeah. So at this point in the game, Roll is basically just trying to get gifts while also trying to advance her game state, while Karma is moving pretty aggressively on this other column Bingo. We do see Quibble Race popped into for a second, but mostly just for the gift at this point. Their spoilers is a point where Quibble Race Cherry Disc is raced, but it's later in the game.
Not Quibble Race.
Yep.
What? Never.
Well, and like I was saying, I was excited that it was center square in this game, because that means like pretty much no matter what, players are going to play it.
Oh my god.
And they did. So this is a pretty aggressive gift rush by both players here, but with Karma having to stick out that one game of Avianos to get the Avianos gift, I think that was basically the deciding factor, and thankfully for Roll, she was able to grab the remaining gifts, mark the space, block the Bingo, and be able to progress the game from here. And honestly, after blocking that Bingo threat, Roll is probably more advantageous here, just having a 2-line being worked towards. But as we start to get farther into this match, players just do a good job of kind of bouncing around and blocking each other's bingos and grabbing spaces as they can.
I'm like genuinely trying not to cry that that apartment is empty.
Yeah. An apartment near us with a very cute puppy and kitty apparently moved out and we didn't know, and we're very
window
sad
dog
about
and
it.
window cat. We told them.
Their formal names.
I'm so fucking sad.
So I rewound here to show off that Roll was incredibly deep into a Camp 2 run before dying in Crepelia 2. She was going for synergy with beat 8 levels in 3 games on this card, and got basically 7.9 levels done in Camp 2 before dying and losing everything, so a little unfortunate there, but kind of just worth keeping in mind at this point. But eventually, Roll is able to bring it within 1, and we get a pretty tense Night Manor race where players are just trying to collect items and then show 60% plus items found. I think suddenly Jester said that the average cherry route collects like 90% of items, so you can kind of just grab whatever crap you want along the way. We do see 2 kind of diverging strats here, where Karma is more just grabbing items, it seems, like however she can, and Roll's basically just doing the gold disc into the cherry route and grabbing out whatever she needs to along the way. But this ends up being a pretty tense head-to-head that Roll ends up winning just by a little bit. And then immediately after that, we get another tense head-to-head in a game that's like not super often to be raced, and Rock On. We also see 2 diverging strats here, which is pretty interesting. Karma opting more for just having a bunch of fires on the side and helping out as much as she can. And for the first portions of these waves, at least, Roll was more relying on only her strength and wasn't able to set stuff up as quick. We see here that it, like, honestly, for how different the strats were, it ends up being pretty close. But Karma is just barely able to speed ahead and mark the space as Rolls in the final wave. And as we get farther into this game, Karma does have a little bit of an advantage, but Roll can definitely come back, so both players still pretty aggressively going for spaces. Here we do see the grind of Quibble Race Cherry Disc from Roll, which I was very excited to see. I don't remember her taking super long in this. But I guess during that time, now that I'm reviewing it now, Karma was able to finish 20% completion in Golf Area and then also hop into Quibble Race. So this ends up being a pretty tense square. If Roll's able to grab this and then go on a bit of a run, she can theoretically win this game, but with about a half hour left, and this not really being a very good board for cherries or levels after that Camp 2 run went a little sour at the end. It's going to be kind of tough, but we do get to at least see a head-to-head Quibble race. I unfortunately don't have webcams for the players, so it's not, we don't get to see some like Val and Slam level reactions about it, but we do get some pretty silly Quibble race shenanigans. It doesn't go great for Karma, so she just kind of pops out and does a safe gold that is likely not being attempted here. And then we do get to see Roll grab the cherry and then immediately hop into Rail Heist for levels. But since Karma is uncontested in Alphazar, she's just able to chill and play that through and pick up the 13-10 win. A really good game. There were a lot of very close, tense head-to-head moments in that one, and it was a very fun first game of the season for me to cast. Okay. So, next up we have Dom versus Marshmallow. Once again, 2 returning players from B1 last season, and 2 very strong, likely playoff teams. I always call people teams in this because it just seems more natural for me to follow up with playoffs, I guess. I normally talk sports, so it kind of automatically goes over, but 2 strong playoff competitors, and their week 1 match definitely didn't disappoint. So, starting immediately in the match, we have Marshmallow grinding out some Velgrass as Dom is taking out very, very fast Mortal 1 goal. One of the very few incredibly fast Mortal 1 goals, in my opinion. But as Marshmallow is working on this, Dom does pop in to make this a bit of a pretty scary head-to-head. Velgris can be pretty random, and especially clear out of shop stock, like, unless you're getting like 50 to 60 coins to guarantee it in the first shop, you are sort of up to the whims of whatever the shop has available. And thankfully for Marshmallow, she's able to pick up a pretty fast one there. And then as players are starting to progress into pin golf, we've already had 2 head-to-heads in the first 4 minutes as players are rushing to try to get through hole 9 as fast as possible. And obviously if Marshmallow is able to get this pushes the column 5 bingo, and if Dom's able to get this is mostly just a block, but also does start some row 2 stuff of his own. So Dom is able to beat that by about a hole. If we go a little bit farther ahead, we do see that Dom is able to grab those Bug Hunter goals back to back and go up 4-1, and also start to threaten the top row bingo. Thankfully, Amy, all you have to do is win in hot foot 5 levels, and with hot foot synergy on the board, both players are obviously trying to push that top row or block that top row as much as possible. So we do get to see some relatively vanilla hot foot as players are rushing to try to beat 5 levels if they can. I'll just let the rest of this race play out for a sec. Okay. Next is 25 in. So here we get to see a Kit Club dessert race as Dom has started to push a different direction of the bingo. Unfortunately for Marshmallow, Kit Club is a game that you can't, like, I mean, you can speed run it and do stuff quickly, but like, especially if you're trying to remember hidden desserts and stuff, and honestly if you're just playing it safe, there's not like a ton you can do to speed it up. And with her being nearly a full world behind, as long as Dom is able to grab the desserts in this stage, which he certainly is able to, able to mark that off. Oh, he must have missed one earlier on. Okay. You ideally don't want to have to use the desserts in 2-9, but it is nice that there's 2 up there. And then suddenly Marshmallow's in a kind of awkward spot where she's basically either forced to go Disconia or Gift Rush without her 2 gifts, I guess, but kind of risky to do that if you only have 2. So Dom's doing a strategy that is pretty popular in bingo, where he's using his like board presence to threaten one bingo into another bingo into another bingo here. And basically in the time Marshmallow's been working on this war of Lords of Disconia, which is a pretty time-consuming goal, Dom's been able to also threaten the row 4 bingo, which basically just means that Marshmallow's gonna have to play pretty defensively for the rest of the game and not really advance the other fast squares that are on the board, which allows time for Dom to kind of just build up the board however he wants to here. To Marshmallow's credit, she is able to start blocking stuff. And as Marshmallow starts to block stuff, we do also see that she does have a bingo line forming of her own, where Dom is basically forced to go for a gold rush or play 2 levels of ants that are one's kind of farther in. So opting for the gold rush while Marshmallow grabs the Barbuda, and presumably Barbuda gold, but mostly just the 25 rooms. And we do get to see some pretty sweet Rakshasa play in this stretch, working on score 30,000 points. We saw this yesterday with, I think it was Cosmoing who did it, but basically taking a bunch of intentional deaths to fight a harder mini-boss to be able to get frogs. And then shoutouts to that one frog that was just hopping around off screen until the second Dom moved and then decided to hop back on screen. Pretty sweet save at 5 skulls here to be able to come back. As you get farther into Rakshasa, it becomes harder and harder to get through. And basically those recovery minigames become harder and harder to actually do. We do get to see Open Tomb used for a boss, which is something that a lot of players forget about, but is one of the fastest bosses in all of UFO 50, if you have access to that level specifically. Yeah, Val's PNG tuber model already kind of vibrates pretty quickly, but especially at 4 times speed. He is dancing up a storm in the corner.
Is it on fast forward speed again?
Yeah. Yeah, for the rest of this match, we do see a pretty aggressive bingo push here for Dom to theoretically threaten that row 4, but I guess, spoilers, neither player ends up actually going for that goal, because Rock-On can be a little tricky, but we do get, later into the match, a pilot quest race to obtain the blaster. And then eventually Dom just settles in for Gulf Area 20%, while Marshmallow has a little bit of difficulty in the other goals that are on the card. And she would have needed every space on the board at that point anyway, because Dom put her in the position where she needed to do that. And since Dom was just working on the longest goal left, he did a good job of sealing it up. And very good game from both players. All of the goals that were left on here are either long or pretty knowledge heavy. Dom especially did a really good job of using his board presence to kind of just threaten 1, 2, 3, 4 bingos that match, or 5, excuse me. And having been in that position, it's pretty hard to play defensively around that. Hi, Nitro.
She's in a fedora right now.
Oh.
Just
Hi Nitro, how's it going? Whoops, I forgot to update the ticker for Dom and Marshmallow. I also forgot to update the board. Okay, if y'all don't see the board change in between games, feel free to yell at me and I'll update it.
Yo.
Yep. Alright, so we are here with the next game, Goose versus Winterbit. Again, two very strong competitors here. We see a board that immediately seems to favor Goose, in my opinion. Giving Goose a center square camouflage and Metroidvania for an extended Vanger play is pretty scary if you're going up against Goose. And we do see her immediately go for camouflage, while Winner also uses their comfort pick of pin golf to finish hole 9 and then play through to the gold disc is this one. Because there's good synergy with pin golf on this board, just being able to clear out some of the generals. One thing about this board in particular that I noticed when I was reviewing is there's a lot of like double game synergy, as well as some of the most ridiculous Mortal 2 synergy I've ever seen. So you will see players kind of pop in and out of these like multi-game things a couple of times throughout this match. Okay, so getting a little bit farther into the game here, we have a pretty tense neck and neck Kit Club race. Farther into the game here, up 3-2, Goose is starting to pretty aggressively push the middle row bingo, but unfortunately for her, she is a little bit behind on lives and ends up taking too many deaths. So Winner is able to grab the Kit Club goal and then also start to push their own bingo lines. Oh, I'm sorry. It was a race, but I thought Winner got that, but I guess... oh, that's right. I forgot that they held this square for forever. So because of Goose marking Bug Hunter 15 days at that point in the match, Winner knows, like, at least pretty strongly that Goose likely wasn't in Kit Club at the same time, and is going to hold this square and start to make progress elsewhere, and then whenever they need to cash that in, Winner can. You do have to be careful with this, because we've seen a couple of times in the recaps where players go for a hold but then get distracted by something else they're doing later. I don't think that ends up happening here, but we do end up getting... There was another hold on Goose's end, but I forgot to take a note of when it happened. But there was actually a pretty decent amount of holding spaces, so I guess for those that don't know what that is, when you complete a goal in UFO 50 Bingo, you're able to open or like light up the space on the board, but you don't have to. So what players have started to do is...
You have to do it right away.
Yeah, like obviously at some point in the match you want to do it, but in this case specifically, if you're Winterbit and just saw Goose mark off a different game, then you like know that it's going to take at least like a minute or two to get through. You can kind of use that minute or two of like banked progress almost to get farther in another goal, and then know that you can just mark off that Kit Club goal basically whenever you want to. It's a strategy that is pretty risky, because if Goose were to, for instance, just pop back into Kit Club and beat that goal now, she would be like totally fine to mark off that space first. Yep.
Yeah. Or like you could forget to mark it.
Yep, we saw that yesterday too.
Mm-hmm. I would forget personally.
I mean, there's a lot to pay attention to in the middle of a bingo match, and especially as the match goes on, it's kind of
pressure and a lot of stuff to pay attention to, and just I know that I would forget.
Yeah, it just gets hard because as you get farther into a match, you're normally not thinking about things that like happened earlier in the match.
That already happened.
Because, like, quite frankly, you don't have time to
Yeah.
ruminate on stuff that's
More
already
power
happened.
to you if you can remember, honestly. You're unstoppable. 'Cause
Yeah.
what? You're thinking about like 5 squares ago somehow? How?
Yeah.
How are you remembering?
So during the course of looking like Goose is going for a Kit Club here, she's instead been able to mark off Bug Hunter and Campanella and start to push the column 2 bingo. Since all the spaces on the board are pretty like spread out, it's a little harder during a game to like read all of the bingo lines. But outside of the middle row and bottom row stuff, everything's been pretty well blocked by both players. Goose is playing defensively here to block the row 4 bingo, and Winner is banking progress on Metroidvania and already has blocked this with the Kit Club goal here. And a little bit farther into the match, we get a head-to-head in Mortal 2. There are 2 Mortal 2 goals on this board, and obviously if you're either player, getting one or both of these goals would be extremely helpful. If Goose is able to get both, then she kind of puts herself in a position where like this row and this bingo are both pretty scary for Winner to block. And then if Winner's able to get either or both of these, it basically blocks the major last bingo threats around. And is able to do so on the bottom goal, but we see that neither player is actually going for the Worms 1 at this time. So while in the middle of a gift rush, Goose goes for not a super common gift, but one that actually works out extremely well here in Mini and Max. For those that don't know, if you get 100 shinies in Mini and Max, you get a gift out of it. And since Goose later in that line is just going to have to collect 350 shinies anyway, it makes sense to get this gift right now. So definitely know your atypical gifts in case you end up needing something like this on the board later. So Winner is able to grab the Big Bell Race Gold Disc and Gold Disc 3 games on this card goal, and suddenly tied 9-9, and this late into a match it does feel like all of the bingos are blocked, especially since both of the diagonals are. But Goose has a surprisingly sneaky column 2 going here, and for the 3rd time in Mortal 2 is eventually able to get eaten by all the worms, and then start to make a bunch of progress in Mini and Max. Already had progress earlier from grabbing the 100 shinies for the gift, and while Winner does eventually see this bingo threat coming, it's not until Goose already has almost 250 shinies. So even though Winnerbit is up 11-10, Goose is able to score-wise tie it up 11-11, but then get the bingo. So obviously that takes precedence here. And yeah, a really good back and forth game. Some interesting strategy on both players and very smart board presence. And having been in Winnerbit and Goose's shoes before, like having been on both sides of this like sneaky bingo forming, it is surprisingly difficult to see these bingo lines like form as they happen in the middle of a match. Especially if you're able to like not have the middle square for a while. Like as you get farther and farther into the game itself, it kind of becomes harder and harder to see those, or easier to assume that you've already blocked everything, when that is not always the case. And yeah, a very well played game by both players there. Something you're going to notice as we go through the B tier recaps is there's becoming less and less differentiation between the tiers as we get farther into league play, I would say. Like, pretty much everyone is just really good now and really efficient, and the massive score discrepancies between tiers aren't like as defined as they used to be. So immediately hopping into Toots versus Aha, we get a pretty rare Golfaria race. Obviously this is for the quicker save to green NPCs goal and not the 20%, but this does also work for Metroidvania synergy as well, which ends up mattering a little bit later into the game. But after this initial Gulf area race, we see equally helpful Porgy synergy here with Metroidvania. This ends up being a pretty Metroidvania friendly board, I would say. Sometimes you get boards with the generals like really line up with the stuff you're like already doing, and then sometimes you just get generals where they don't feel like related really at all. We do see an early meat shack in Pilot Quest for Toots here as well. For those that don't know, you have like a 1 in, I think it's like 300 chance of getting a crystal ingot as one of your drops, just from hitting the crystal in the middle. And if you do, you can get the meat shack online and start Pilot Quest goals a little bit earlier. Because otherwise you're stuck doing what Aha's doing over here and just beating the crystal for little ones to start the shop and mash as fast as you can to try to get extra seeds and stuff. But as you've maybe noticed from this match being fast forwarded, these goals are flying off the board here. Toots and Aha were both winners? They were at least very high in their tiers last season, and definitely are up to the task of proving that stake. We have, like I mentioned, pretty good synergy for Metroidvania here, but as those initial spaces start to go off the board, players kind of just break off and do their own thing for a while. Like, for as competitive as this game was score-wise, there were surprisingly few like actual head-to-heads. I will mention here that this is already Aha's second time of trying Bug Hunter here, because I guess slight spoilers, it will not be his last, unfortunately. We have a little bit of a Seaside race here, but Seaside's one of those games where you really can't make up or lose a ton of time, and with Aha already being in Seaside to score 70k, as well as try to get another boss. Or this is for 2 levels actually, excuse me. So I guess also worth mentioning, this board has the now no longer here defeat 6 enemy types in 6 games on this card, and both players are trying to keep track of everything, but it's a little difficult to do so. We do see that Aha is a little bit farther into Planet Zoldath and able to get through all the way up until here. And with only 2 health, it is a little risky to try to damage boost through, and unfortunately succumbs to Zoldath there. During that time, by the way, Toots was able to get Keeney Skip and Vanger, which is always fun to show off. So farther into this game a little bit, Toots is up 8-6, and I guess more importantly for Toots, the bingo lines that he's still threatening are still around, whereas Aha's any form of bingo is nullified at this point in the game. So Toots can either, as a player, choose to push the bingo lines or just run around and get quick spaces and not really care about a bingo. And both players were kind of doing that for a lot of the game. I don't want to fast forward over this because we do actually get to see some very impressive rail heist here. Keeney was in chat when Keeney was even impressed by this, so definitely wanted to point it out. But collect 9 Devil Stars is normally a pretty long goal, but Aha does a good job of just kind of blasting it out and getting through it pretty quickly. Unfortunately, you'll notice by the score that Aha is falling a little bit farther behind at this point, and when you get to this point where your opponent's threatening a couple of bingos at once, you kind of just have to go into one and then the other and hope that you can get back in. Yep. And during this time, Toots is working on perfecting Jungle Rush, but unfortunately takes a hit from one of the mosquitoes, which I think actually works out a little bit better for him long term because it allows him to be able to go into ants unimpeded and start to slay a spider in 2 different levels. And once he's able to do that here, you can tell Aha is thrilled to pop back into Bug Hunter for a 3rd time this game. And at that point, Toots is either able to go into Bug Hunter himself and try to push the bingo, or know that Aha is going to be stuck in Bug Hunter for a while and do whatever he wants in the rest of the goals. So we get to see a little bit of onion delivery before also hopping into Bug Hunter himself. We get a seated Bug Hunter race, which is always pretty fun. One of the good things about this Good Jobs goal is you are able to, like if you lose, it'll be the same seed over again. But unfortunately for Aha, Toots was able to come in there and one-shot the job and get the bingo win. So again, really well played by both players. Toots did a really good job of aggressively getting like everything in the middle and just threatening so many different lines. And while Aha was able to play defensively and block most of it, it just ended up happening where their middle row kind of snuck in at the end. Alright, we got one more and then we'll be done with B1, and then we'll take a quick break to set up the rest. Yeah, so once again, shout outs to the notes that people took for this, because this is much more organized.
Great job, everybody, great job.
Thanks, Bun. Yeah, I'll get the bun pat of approval.
You didn't need to thank me, thank them.
Well, I will also thank them, and I did thank them, but I will thank them again.
Don't thank me.
Thank you for thanking them.
Take notes? I don't do shit.
Again, us for thanking you.
I just said woo. Well, she just said woo.
That's true. So for the final game of B1 in week 1, we have a guy versus Lidstar, which is a rematch of a playoff game last season, which is pretty exciting. And
rematch.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay, little Bun. I love you.
I'm just here to, make things fun.
You're just the hype woman.
Yeah. Oh, Bun, I'm here to make things fun.
It's true. You're good at that.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of energy, but I can do things like that.
You little cutie, I love you. I mean, you are healing a pretty big tattoo, which I think is also contributing to your sleepiness lately.
Yep, well, and then my reaction to the fucking Sandoderm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, in the beginning portion of this match, by the way, we did get a pretty tense Magic Garden head-to-head that a guy was a little bit behind on, which did allow him to pivot into Barbuda a little bit earlier. Pretty rare that you get a head-to-head in Barbuda that's as tense as this, but we do see players kind of diverging on their paths a little bit here to grab 5 items, and already a pretty important push by both players here, because Liz theoretically can get pretty quickly through that column 1, and none of those games are games that like are great to try to race as a player, but thankfully for Guy, he's able to pop in and get those routed out a little bit faster and then be able to move on with the game. And Liz is attempting to stay in to have this be one of her 2 cherries, but unfortunately isn't able to do that and then moves on. So as we get farther into this game, we see Liz pop into Campanella 3 to get through the double synergy of earn 3 waves in stage C and clear 6 waves 100%. Both those goals are fairly far into Camp 3, so during that time a guy is able to kind of pop around the board and extend his lead a little bit more. And at this point, Liz is gift rushing as a guy is trying his own seeded bug hunter run. I assume these seeds are random, by the way. I guess I haven't actually looked into that, but as I was mentioning in the previous match, one of the nice things about seeded bug hunter is if you are unfortunately failing a match, you can use your information about the seed to learn for the next time. And I think that was the guy's first shot, and is now going to be popping into Mini and Max, resetting the game before deciding the block koala push for the bottom row threat, as well as the right column threat is worth going for. Hey Dom, yeah, we recapped your match against Marshmallow. It was a very fun game. I'm glad that you got to play Mortal immediately. That was fun. Yeah, how's it going? Good to see you. Also, I changed the board, right? I did not. Okay. That's okay.
You can always look at mine to see.
Yeah, that's the right colors. Okay. Shoutouts to bingo players using different colors for their boards, because it helps me know when I change the board or not. So at this point, we see a pretty aggressive levels rush from both players as the column 3 bingo definitely starts to rear its head. And during that time, Hyper Contender Draft Mode gets marked off, and Liz is able to block the column 4, or the column 5, which is pretty helpful because honestly, had she not been able to do that, being in a fist-tail race through the 4th scare is a kind of, no pun intended, scary situation to be in. But after that, most of the immediate bingo pressure is kind of off the board for both players. So even though it's 5-4, both players have effectively blocked off the bingos that are like actually relevant at this point in the game. Where's the next part? So we do at some point in the game get farther in where a guy is able to push the column 4 bingo, and obviously if he is able to defeat Unktomi here and then Cherry overbold, the game's over. Overbold Cherry has gone a little poorly for both players in this game because the overbold is just hard. But both players do give a pretty decent shot here at Pilot Quest to be able to go and defeat Unktomi. Both get pretty close. Liz actually has a pretty decent setup here to be able to one-shot it, but unfortunately ends up taking a little bit of damage here and getting pinned against the wall, and unfortunately it's easy to lose a lot of time quickly in that fight. So that pushes back the timer of this bingo for both players at this point, because if you run out of meat you have to wait for it to like naturally recover, which means that you can't play Pilot Quest for like 25 minutes or so. So during that time players are definitely just going to use this to run around and try to grab the other quick spaces that they can. Also, I read the colors completely wrong. Liz was pushing that bingo, not a guy. But since both players were unable to beat Pilot Quest and neither wants to be stuck in Overbold, both are kind of just running around and getting the other goals that they know how to do on this board, and then waiting until as long as possible to try to go for either of these. After some party house and a little bit more of an attempt of trying to block this bingo and defeat Unktomi, despite 500 seconds, we see a pretty similar situation to Liz where we just get a kind of unfortunate angle. Unktomi is a surprisingly difficult boss, honestly. Like, unless you are able to stun lock her perfectly, she can take away a lot of time from you really quickly, and even just like one hit of damage from her can sometimes ruin a run. And we did see Guy get close, but during this run we didn't fast forward past it. We do see Liz able to get the stun lock just a little bit better, and thankfully for a Guy, he saw that coming and was immediately going into Overbold to block the bingo. Unfortunately for a Guy, Liz has no interest in playing Overbold and doesn't have to since she's already at 12 points. So we just see it close out with Hot Foot and a 13-9 win. So both players did a good job of pushing bingos this game and sort of forcing the other to play defensively. And just with the way the space is laid out, Liz's were a little more impactful at like directly pushing bingos, which I think caught Guy on the back foot a little bit more. And even though it was a pretty close game in the end, Liz kind of held that lead for a portion of the game and never really had to worry about a Guy's bingos after getting the 2 levels race. Which is definitely always a little relieving when you're a player. Okay, and with that we are actually through B1 already. I kind of wish the ad didn't just run because I didn't see it until now.
Oh, well, Storybot gives you a.
I mean, it definitely did give me a shout out. I just didn't see it. So I guess before we head to a quick break to set up for B2, just a reminder, first and foremost, Saturday, Karma versus Liz is going to be happening at twitch.tv/gamesdonequick, and Skousen and I are going to be commentating it, and it's going to be a blast. It's about around 4 p.m. Pacific, but just check their schedule for when it's in your time zone. And definitely looking forward to casting that because it'll definitely be a fun game. Next, for those that missed it last night, I've been working with Frank in the bingo prep for Monday Night Bingo to get stats up and online for Season 3 using the game data of anything that has a VOD on UFO50.bingo for Season 3 League play, at least. So, for instance, this week's game between Medotsuki and Van Strummer got updated with a VOD, so even though we're into week 2 now, all of these goals are now counted over here. And let me just see if anything changed over here. Oh, Barbuda joined our top in terms of games goals marked off. Valbrace, Mortal 2, Cyber Owls, and Bushido Ball all make sense up top. A little surprised to see Paint Chase up there still, but Rail Haste, Camouflage, Porgy, Clover Race, Demolition, Hotfoot, Kick Club, all the pretty fast games or like consistent games up top. And as we get farther down, poor Avianos has still only had 2 logged completions of goals this season. Even Ants is getting more love than Avianos, which is a little surprising. We do also have the weekly stats, which is the same thing, just broken down by which goals are marked off each week. Hoping to make a pretty fun little scatter plot out of that later in the season. We have player stats, which are still very much a work in progress. Goal stats, where cumulative times each goal has been completed are logged. It's not perfect because some of these, like for instance Bushido Ball and stuff, are tokened goals, and especially for like Block Walla for instance, I did not feel like writing out every possible combination of levels to be able to scan for count-if. But we do have some stats brewing for games, and then we do have the B1 tier standings after that. Worth mentioning, CO, I don't know why I referred to myself in third person. Me versus Ace did technically happen, but Ace ended up forfeiting and then retiring from the league after week 1. So I ended up having a week 1 bye, and everyone who was scheduled to play Ace is now going to be playing each other later in the season. So in place of CO versus Ace here for the last game of B1, at some point later in the season we'll have me versus a rank, which should be really fun. Our rank has a habit of kicking my ass, but I hope to make the game at least close. Alright, so I am going to take a quick break. Again, I'm sorry that the ads like just finished running, but I'm going to take a quick break, probably have a dab, set up the stream for B2 tier stuff. B2 was in a similar situation where someone ended up forfeiting and retiring after week 1. So we only have another 7 games to go, and then we should be through this recap a little bit faster than A tier at least. So thanks for sitting tight, experienced, and moving up from C tier dominance. Or our brand new players that are obviously very comfortable in UFO 50, both of which are pretty exciting to see. And I'm excited to just get into this game, so let's get into it.
Without further ado,
Oh, cutie. So, starting off with Boards of Canada versus Pill Rush. I'm just going to fast forward a little bit into this game and let this play out as I'm talking about this. But basically, with the Paint Chase plus Racer synergy, it obviously makes sense to stay in Paint Chase for at least a little while and mark the space off. And we see as they're able to do so that Pill Rush actually stays in for additional Paint Chase progress, which signifies that one of the first things that's going to be happening on this board is Racer gets marked off with every single level being in Paint Chase specifically, which is pretty rare, but is pretty cool to see that boards have that kind of level of synergy if you want to go for it. I know Boards of Canada said that they really wanted to get a specific thing in Paint Chase, and this is definitely a good reason to do that while still actually like making progress on the board also. So Pill Rush is about a level or two behind at this point, which in a direct race for Paint Chase is a little tough. That early pause ended up sort of costing them some pretty crucial time in what they were trying to go for here. And we do see that Boards of Canada lights up the board for Racer and then stays in, which means that in addition to the Paint Chase gift and a boss on this card using Paint Chase when even coat's not on the card, we are potentially, for I think the first time in the league, at least since I've been recapping, that we see a player play all the way through Paint Chase. A pretty long but fun game. And spoilers, not only do they play all the way through, but they actually end up getting the cherry, which ends up marking off another space on the board. I'm sure neither the casters or Pill Rush were really expecting to see a Paint Chase cherry as one of the first things to bring in Tier B2. But shoutouts to Boards of Canada for pulling it off and doing so, honestly, pretty much flawlessly. Yeah. Like a 20-minute or 21-minute or whatever Paint Chase cherry is a pretty fast time, too. I think it's at least faster than the time I have submitted for it, so... I think they did get at least a couple more perfects that I did. I think I only got one in that run. But as Pill Rush is starting to make a little bit of progress on Mooncat and eventually bark that off, the game basically diverges from here with both players, again, kind of doing their own thing. We got like a little bit of a Magic Garden race here, but Boards of Canada had been in here for a while building that up. And Pill Rush ends up quitting out here anyway. Is this the actual VOD time? Yes. Okay. So we do see that Boards of Canada has been working pretty far into Magic Garden and is attempting to get the multiplier, but just barely drops it in the middle of the combo from being like one step too far away, and unfortunately then bulks into the wall on the pretty safe cherry run after that. Or would have been safe if they were able to clear out all the enemies, I guess. A little bit farther into this game, we do get to, for the first time this season, see... I just skip past it. We do get to see players pop into Slim Tank. For those that don't know, this is the Warp Tank level select, even though it doesn't have like an up or down cursor. So I wanted to show that off because first of all, Hugh highlighted it, and also it's a pretty common occurrence when you're starting off in UFO 50 bingo. Most of the level select codes basically just like put you on the overworld and let you like select levels and stuff. But Warp Tanks is just a black screen with the name of sectors that you can like scroll up and down between, and it doesn't even tell you that you can do that. But as we get farther into this game, Boards of Canada is up 6-3, and pretty aggressively starting the push for the column 5 bingo, and seeing and respecting that, Pill Rush pops into Kit Club here to have 5 extra lives at once. This is always a kind of funny goal to me, because I remember back in Season 1, this goal was like the demon goal that everyone messed up all the time. And now it just feels like players are so consistent and good at the game that it's like almost an afterthought sometimes.
Cool.
Yeah. Like, there's not too many goals that have survived around since like early Season 1, so we don't really have like that big of a comparison.
Yeah.
But like, I definitely remember Have 5 Extra Lives at Once was just like a cursed goal of some kind in Season 1. And even kind of,
what?
yeah, and even kind of saw it there with Boards of Hanado, where it's like pretty easy to like just take a death and then not be able to go on.
Yeah.
But Pill Rush does a good job of sticking in here. Shoutouts to the girl character in Kid Club, by the way. I feel like we shout her out often, but not often enough. So we're gonna pop back in after blocking that bingo and at least like try to select something and realize that it's a level select code. Shoutouts to Crust Sector. Shoutouts to Warp Tank in general, by the way. It's a very fun game. I need to relearn all the Crust Sector 2. Yeah, so it's not very clear, but you can scroll up and down here to select every single sector that you want. That's just kind of a problem with Warp Tank in general, though. Like, we've kind of been begging for Slim Tank to be a little bit more... even just have like a cursor showing up and down movement would be pretty helpful. But no dice. Or we have not seen very much Warp Tank through the first couple of weeks, so I am happy to show it off when it is
No,
a run.
Warp Tank, only Purple Race.
I mean, that was week 1, yeah.
Yep. I know what I'm talking about.
You've heard all my commentary.
Uh-huh. I listen to you.
It's true, you do.
No matter what you're talking about.
It's true, you
If
do.
I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're saying, I'm still listening to you.
Yeah. You're the best. I love you.
I love you, I love you.
So one of the additional problems with Slim Tank that's a little bit more gameplay intended, but also kind of annoying. Checkpoints don't work when you have Slim Tank enabled because it just kicks you back to that level select screen every time you die. So you do have to one-shot these levels, which if you're used to like speedrunning on them and stuff, like you're normally one-shotting the levels anyway, so it's not really the end of the world. But if you are a little more unfamiliar with Warp Tank, it can be pretty stressful for sure. It is. This window is a little bit bigger than it was yesterday. Thank you for letting me know. It's unfortunately probably been like that for at least the B1 recap. Yeah, it should definitely be something more like that, I guess.
It was. I didn't even notice. Sorry for not noticing.
It's okay.
Good catch.
Thank you, Nitro. Alright, well, sorry, B1.
I thought something looked off and I couldn't quite place it. That's how you can tell I'm tired today.
Yeah. It's okay.
I normally catch everything like that.
So as we get farther into this game, you can see it's 8-4. Boards of Hanada is basically just able to use that gap advantage to pop around the board and grab all of these quick spaces. And for what it's worth, Pill Rush does do a good job of blocking the bingos while also keeping the distance, and at least like within striking distance, I guess. But unfortunately for him, man, it's just too far along at this point. And basically every time Pill Rush marks off a square, Boards of Hanada does also. We do see the Night Manor cherry for cherry number 2. So shoutouts to Season 3 having cherried us 3 games on this card, and Paint Chase and Night Manor being 2 of them. And then the obvious Magic Garden, of course. We do get a little bit of a Ninpek race here. Ninpek's another one of those games that can't really be sped up at all, so it's kind of just whoever's in it first a lot of the time, unless you end up having some kind of unfortunate deaths. This specific Ninpek goal is one of the few that can actually be raced, because it's just scoring points in Ninpek. And like if you're more optimal about it, you can actually get it earlier than a player who has to like play through to the second bonus or whatever. But after that we Oh, I just noticed that Aviano skull used to have all the mountains, and now it's have 0 mountains. That's funny. But we do see a little bit of an Avianos race at the very end of the game, but time ends up expiring, and Hannah wins 12-7. One sec. Okay. Yeah, so very good game by both players. Hannah was able to use their early game presence again to sort of force Pill Rush to constantly keep defending, which kind of just allowed them to do whatever they wanted in the meantime. But both players in that game did play really well, and it can be tough being on the back foot and having to block all that while still also make progress on the board. So shout outs to Pill Rush for keeping that game as close as it was. Okay, next up is 2 brand new players to the league in Cannaboy and Glace. Cannaboy, if you recognize his name, he was in Cherry Rush last year. Specifically as the Star Wasper runner, and I think potentially some of the other shoot 'em ups. But as far as I know, doesn't have like a ton of experience elsewhere in the collection. So is the case of someone who's like probably A+ tier in a couple of games and still learning the rest along the way. And we kind of tough to tier players like that, because as you'll see at the start of this game, and not only is Cannaboy immediately going for one of the hardest bingo goals in Star Wasper Clear Wave 3, he gets it, and it's like not even close, honestly. Hannah ended up dying at 17,150 and not reaching the 18,000 nitro. I meant to say that out loud if I didn't, but they were exceptionally close, but not quite there. So coming up is Star Wasper Wave 3. Notoriously and infamously the hardest thing in UFO 50. These red guys are brutal. The mini-boss swarm here is even more brutal, especially in combination with the red guys, and especially in combination with asteroids that look like they're a part of the background, but they're not, and they can instantly kill you. So you constantly have to be blowing up a path for yourself, while also blowing up some of the hardest enemies in the game. And of course, Cannaboy makes that look like it's absolutely nothing, and gets it within 4 minutes of his first bingo match of the season. And not only that, but is able to immediately roll it into one of the most comfortable Star Wasper golds that you will ever see in bingo. I think this game has been golded a couple of times by people in A tier, and even in A tier people pop off when they get it, because Star Wasper is hard, and being consistent at it is very, very hard. And here we see Cannaboy just absolutely crush it. And then immediately hop back in for the gift. Or something else, I'm not actually sure why he hopped back in here. But while Cannonboy's been able to do that, Glace is threatening a pretty mean-looking top row bingo here, which thankfully for Cannonboy, he immediately, or like Sixth Sense, goes up to block right away. Anytime Amy is in a bingo line row with something from like Hotfoot or Fistel, you kind of have to be pretty careful. Because the synergy there, especially with Hotfoot stuff, is pretty strong. But yeah, I wanted to highlight that two of the first things that Cannonboy did upon entering the league were Gold Disc Star Wasper, and then slight spoilers, but very comfortably Gold Disc over Bold. Two games that by even A-tier standards are like hard games that are tough to be consistent at, especially like quickly. And thanks to Overbold Gold Disc being in the top row, even though Glaze did have some pretty nice synergy with the top row going, isn't able to cash it in with a bingo. But we do see within the first 20 minutes also going for the other very hard on the board and trying to get a gold disc as Ayumi with Lawson and 8+ points. This is a new goal to the season where not only do you have to gold disc Bushido Ball, but you have to do it with Lawson, regular amount of points, and as a specific character. And the character changes depending on the board, so sometimes it's Ayumi, sometimes it's Yamada. So you have to be pretty good with everyone in Bushido Ball now, and not just a couple of characters. Did they change Mortal 2 goal? Gold disc without blowing anything up. Yeah, so most of the Mortal 2 goals are like a combination of some stuff that was brought down from Spicy, actually. And just not having like ridiculously fast, like only Mortal 2 gold disc on the card. I do think that we end up seeing this route attempted later in the game. But if you haven't tried this route, it's basically a modified version of the 10 keys route, I believe. And you basically just go around and actually like pay for the doors and stuff and then pipe down. And yeah, it's an interesting situation when you have someone who is like pretty infamous for being like the top player at their game, and then having to play them on a board where they get to play their top game. I frequently find myself running into that problem in B1, and it's at this point even down into B2 and C tier and stuff now too, so once again, major shoutouts to the entire league for kind of upping the skill floor once again, and really pushing what UFO 50 running and stuff can look like, because it's been pretty fun to watch grow over like a year. But as we get a little bit farther into this game, let's just skip ahead just a little bit. While players are doing a good job of marking off spaces, Glaze did fall a little bit short in that Cyberowl's goal and wasn't able to mark it off. But neither player is like super aggressively pushing for bingos right now. We do see Glaze pop into Avianos to try to get this quick fledgling campaign goal. But Avianos is another game that has token goals this season, so it's a little bit harder to practice, and you kind of just have to wing it in the middle of a match sometimes. And winging it in Avianos either goes really, really well or takes a little bit, and I think it ends up taking a little bit for Glaze here before he just pivots out again. And also, we were back into Overbold for some reason for Cannonboy. I didn't actually see why. Oh, didn't mean to skip past that one. Let's just back it up a little bit. Okay. So we do see this time around Glace popping in and able to actually grab the Cyber score. As long as you have over 900 entering the Hakuun, you get 300 from the boss fight and you're good to go. So important square to get back on the board and also start to push one of his own bingo lines. And honestly, a pretty fast bingo line. Barbuda visit 25 rooms. Porgy defeat a boss can be fast, and 4 levels in 5 games is pretty fast. While that is happening, Canaboy theoretically does also have this column 1 bingo, which I think at this point Glaze sees, and sees a quick goal to be able to block it and also tie things up. So after a little bit of adventuring around in Barbuda, both players see the threat of the middle row bingo, and thankfully for both players, opt for different directions here. We do see just barely, but getting 15 kills exactly at the end of day 4, and pretty aggressively pushing the middle bingo here. I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, so I don't think Canaboy actually pushes this right here. So it is Glace basically racing against himself to try to complete a full lap in reverse and win on 4 separate tracks. I guess for anyone listening for this goal for the future, Morikondo was in chat during this game and mentioned that apparently the easiest way to do this goal is to like almost win and then do a lap in reverse and then win. Because you can, I guess, more easily tell if you're like, we're gonna win that race anyway, as opposed to like constantly trying to like claw your way back or whatever. Like just have the lead ahead of time and then cash it in kind of at the end, which I thought was interesting because I've definitely always done this goal the way Glace does, where you just start with the backwards lap and then go forward from there. But apparently Mort said it's much easier to kind of like choose when you're actually going to be able to go for it. Yeah, minority bingo wins are really fun, and honestly are probably one of my favorite parts of actual league play, because it kind of really gives the you're never totally out of it in a game feel to bingo. Because one of the nice things about Spicy is that you wouldn't get bingoed on, but also one of the less tense things, I guess, about Spicy compared to regular league play is you had a lot less like, oh shit, I gotta suddenly block this bingo, because bingos didn't matter anyway then. And while you did kind of see players kind of just settle into goals that they knew that they could do because bingo threats weren't aligned, as a viewer / commentator, it is sometimes fun to watch players be suddenly rushed into goals that they're maybe not as comfortable with, and just watch people figure it out live and kind of pick up strats from that and stuff. So unfortunately for Glace, this is a pretty tough situation to be in. Anytime your opponent is threatening multiple bingos, and also anytime you're stuck in a goal. And honestly, I've mentioned this a couple of times. I'm not really sure it's ever been on Monday Night Bingo. I think Big Bell Race is one of the hardest games for bingo. And it's specifically because bingo, like, the goals for Big Bell Race, like, there's not really, like, a ton you can do. So the goals that have survived this long are, like, actually pretty tricky ways of playing Big Bell Race. But also, like, because there's not really a lot you can do, like, outside of the, like, broken checkpoint system and stuff in some levels, you're sort of just stuck playing Big Bell Race and hoping that AI doesn't screw you over in a game where they, like, really like to do that. So just know that you are definitely not alone in the Big Bell Race death loops here, Glace, because I think it's definitely happened to a lot of players. It's at least happened to me, for sure. Going a little bit farther in, We do see both players giving this a pretty earnest attempt, but shoutouts to Glaze for finally being able to clutch that up. We do see the other bingo line starting to be pushed, so we also get to see a head-to-head and Porgy defeat a boss. And pretty tense race here. Lamia is notorious with bingo players for being one of the harder bosses to get into position for the stun lock. And then once you get the stun lock, you're normally fine. The original position for the Lamia stun lock used to be like farther up, but according to my own limited research, that spot kind of sucks to try to lock her up there now. It's like right here on the ledge. But it's apparently much easier to get her stuck anywhere around here. And we do actually get to see a little bit of Canaboy attempting the Mortal 2 Gold Disc route, by the way, but I think realizing that Bomber is pretty good, just moving on to something else. Oh, it was going for 6 enemy types. I stopped paying attention to that goal once it stopped being a thing, because my week 1 match meant that I had never actually had to play that goal. Yeah, sometimes Glace, that's it becomes less about winning the game and more just about beating the goal that's been kicking your ass the entire time. I've definitely had moments like that myself, where it feels like I maybe could be pivoting to something else, but first of all, in your situation here, I don't think there really was anything else you could pivot to, especially seeing the Canaboy was also in Big Bell Race. But also, Big Bell Race is kind of one of those games that you feel should be easier than it actually is in Bingo. So it sort of forces you to stay in it and just get the run that you or you're capable of or whatever. But I think that ended up actually showing in the stats for week 1, because not a lot of people toughed out Big Bell Race for goals, which I'm not surprised about. Yeah, and I'm always a firm believer in just playing out the game, because even if you're maybe behind in this game, just having the ability to know for a future match, for instance in your situation here, Glaze, that you can defeat a boss in Porgy if it comes up again on a board, and it won't be your first time attempting that board or that space in Bingo, it can be pretty helpful. And I see a lot of players sometimes just resign and either play off-board stuff or just kind of sit there for a bit towards the end of games where score-wise they're maybe out of it, but kudos for just chilling and practicing, because the mid-match practice is very valuable. I say this as a fan of a football team that's gotten a lot of mid-match practice because we're really bad. Not that you did bad, for what it's worth, but when my team plays, I have to remind myself of the importance of mid-game practice so you can learn for the future and apply it, which it sounds like you already did. So major kudos again, because
don't worry, you're not as bad as the Raiders.
That's true.
We were not comparing the two.
I was not. I was just mentioning that, yeah. And yeah, this Lamia right here was the reason I wanted to watch this out, because I remembered this being super hype. We're down to an absolute sliver of health. Any movement from here basically kills Glace. For those that don't know, if you sit still in Porgy, you don't run out of, or you don't use fuel. And unfortunately, we all in chat thought that was going to be a Lamia kill, because it looked like it was fine. But unfortunately, as Lamia gets farther into the fight, she spawns more and more fish. And the 4 fish was the one that got him in. But showing off the importance of the bottom space lock there. It can be pretty tough to get Lamia in position, but once she's in position, she's normally stuck there for a while, and can normally just have a bunch of damage done to her in the meantime. Frontward facing Phineas vibes, true. And I've mentioned it in a lot of games so far, but I am going to mention it in this one as well. Both players played really well in this game. I kind of stopped covering Cannonboy at about the halfway mark, as he was kind of just consistently marking off goals and stuff. But I try to make sure that I highlight a lot of good stuff from both players in these games, because obviously everyone is doing a really good job in the league, and I want to make sure that we're all getting our little time to shine, even if it's just in one of these recaps or whatever. But yeah, very, very good games for both players, especially like even getting to a 13-7 majority win in a first bingo match is pretty wild. And yeah, the experience from the first bingo match definitely will help, and you'll definitely notice that the longer you're in, so keep it up. Yeah. Okay. So, next up... Oh, we're back on Twitch, so I gotta switch this around. Alright, the C1, C2 match is gonna be in one stream. Yeah, so... I talked about it with Bun during the break, and I think doing A tier, B tier, and C tier seems to be working pretty well. I get to talk through the games with y'all at a little bit slower of a pace, while still kind of like keeping it to just the highlights. But obviously doing that in one long marathon stream is not it. Because now that there's effectively 6 tiers worth of stuff, since A tier is playing 2 games a week, it definitely needed to be broken up somehow. And once again, I forgot to update the board, but here's what the Cannonboy versus Glazed board ended up looking like. And yeah, some...
So I guess in an ideal week it would be A tier on Mondays, B tier on Tuesdays, C tier on Wednesdays.
Yeah, I don't know when that schedule is going to be actually happening, but that would be the ideal one, because I can just basically get it all. Yeah, I mean, it could theoretically be next week, I guess, if I'm able to watch the videos in time.
Yeah.
And I guess on that note, if you are interested in trying to help out with some of the recaps for Monday Night Bingo that I'm basically reading during these highlight reviews, or if you want to help out with some of the like video editing and stuff, like I know Zachary said that they may want to do like top 10s of the week or something. Anything you think could be cool to add to this, we're definitely always accepting input and stuff.
You have no idea how helpful it would be.
Yep. Basically anything that y'all are able to help out with definitely will be incorporated, because I want to make sure that this is a community thing and not just my thing. And especially if you're like newer to the league and want to help out and are trying to...
if you want it to start on Mondays.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, because it'll be... Having it spaced out like this, I guess, for what it's worth. Is there a place to write down recaps? There sure is. Let me tag you in the thread. So I just tagged Nitro in the thread, but basically there's a thread in, or within Bingo chat for Bingo Prep.
You could just recap your own.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, like, don't feel pressured to have to recap every single game or whatever.
Yeah, I know, but even if it wouldn't be going out of your way too much to just recap your own highlights and, you know, funny parts if there are any, or stuff like that.
It would definitely be helpful and appreciated. Okay. So we are here for the Maratsuki versus Van Strummer match. Maratsuki is also new to the league, and Van Strummer is moving up from C tier last season. So it's always fun to see the matches between like experienced people moving up and brand new people in the league. Starting off immediately with an incredibly close Barbuda race where we see players basically within like one jump of each other. Yes. Have a good night, Nitro. Thank you for hanging out. And yeah, this VOD will be live pretty much immediately after stream. So for anyone who happened to miss it or whatever, or is watching this on YouTube now, hi. We do stream this on Twitch. Currently looking like 3 times a week to make sure that we're spacing this out and still allowing myself time to potentially do other things.
Allowing for self-care.
Because I guess as pulling back the curtain a little bit as we're running through this Barbuda race, most of my match scouting that I've been doing to kind of fill in the gaps of match stuff has basically just been this, where like I'll just watch a match at speed, or Zachary will watch a match at speed, or Hugh will, and then we kind of just jot down like the exciting things that happen during them. And while I obviously do not mind having to watch a lot of UFO 50 bingo, being able to do other things is also nice.
For self-care, for the sake of like actually doing these games justice.
And then we see how close that race was as I was talking over that deserved in the terminal, as Maratsuki was in the menu to buy the pin, but unfortunately got sniped on the square. Immediately able to shake it off, quits out of Barbuda, doesn't want to deal with the Mimic, and is just going to go for an equally fast Rakshasa goal. We do also here get to see both players are going to be attempting a pretty tricky Velgress square. Beat level 2 while stepping on every bomb block is a surprisingly hard goal. As you may or may not know, Velgress is procedurally generated and changes every time you play it. Also shoutouts to the 0 lives remaining Barbuda gold there, because that was pretty clutch. But because Velgress changes every time you play it, you don't actually know how many bomb blocks you're going to have to kill in Stage 2. You also have no clue how annoying they're going to actually like be to get to. Because sometimes they'll spawn a bomb block in a path that like is on the exact opposite side of the room as you. And you gotta basically just get all the way over there without scrolling the room up, and it can be pretty tricky. Okay, so farther into this game, let's just fast forward. Most of this game for the beginning portion has been Maratsuki trying goals, but coming like just barely short of them, while Van's been able to basically get his quick goals and also get some pretty good board synergy, going for the double Barbuda and double Campanella one run. Allows you to mark off 2 spaces and also basically start to push 2 completely different bingo lines at the same time, which can be pretty tricky to work around. Unfortunately for Van Sturmer, scoring 20,000 points and finishing Stage C only scoring a certain amount of points are kind of counterintuitive goals. They're not like impossible to get together, I don't think, because I think you can theoretically get 20k points in the final stage, but we do see a pretty scary situation here where Van starts to run out of lives and is still forced to get all the way through stage C before being able to grind for more. So if you're wondering why he's basically just skipping all these points, it's because he has to. I didn't even know you could cut up right there. Nice. So some very intense dodges there to be able to weave through and eventually grab that stage C. A very deserved sketchy. That was very sketchy. And I think weighing his odds of if he wants to try to get another 20k points, but it's not super helpful. So we now see Van's attempt at the corner square. This corner square is obviously very helpful for that bottom row bingo that he's beginning to work on. And grabbing keys and Velgress, even though the goal is just reach level 2, because you can get a boss in Velgress if you play through and beat the cherry round. Okay. So after a little bit of struggles, we do see Manatsuki able to get the hole-in-one on 3 different courses. That goal can definitely be pretty tricky because the hole-in-ones, like 2 of them are available right away, and then the rest of them are like over halfway through pin golf, and there's no level select code or anything for pin golf. So you're basically just stuck trying hole-in-ones as you play through the game every time, which can be pretty time consuming. But we do start to see the center square push here, which would obviously help Van with this bingo, not that bingo. So only a couple of bingos, but both ones that he already has in line. And we are starting to see a little bit of the strategy that we've seen in a couple of higher tier games, where grabbing spaces like kind of far around the board that still connect together can lead to some pretty sneaky bingo lines forming while still getting just like quick spaces and stuff. There is a point where Van reaches the key code from a major boss and is also able to use that for the Metroidvania progress. I forgot that was why he was in there. But seeing the one bingo line that Matatsuki has been forming this game, Van pops into Alphazar's hat to be able to clear stages 1 and 2 without upgrades or healing. This also advances his own bingo line, so definitely a good situation of seeing the board value. And even though this goal is a little bit longer, and only technically worth 1 point, it does set up a lot of interesting stuff. And is also able to grab a pretty consistent gift for grabbing the tickets in Alphazar's hat. And thankfully it just says clear stages 1 and 2, so even if you were to game over here and start over, as long as you didn't quit out, you would still be able to use your progress there. But unfortunately, while I was looking over the Alphazars, I forgot that this was this is the run where Matatsuki unfortunately got through stage 2 but missed a bomb block. But thankfully it didn't cause any pivots or anything like that, so it's just the square on mark and obviously having to do the goal again. I guess more unfortunately for Van, having that square marked and then unmarked does signify what she was working on, and sort of gives him the knowledge that he needs to go into that square now if he's trying to get that bottom row bingo as a threat. So a little unfortunate when an unmarked kind of gives your opponent more information than you maybe wanted to give them. But we do get a pretty tense back and forth race that eventually Moritsuki is able to mark off and begin to form her own diagonal bingo here. It's kind of a nasty diagonal bingo, but it is, at this point in the game, I would say her most likely out. But unfortunately, because of the pressure that Van's been putting on, kind of just needs to grab spaces that she's comfortable with here. And is one of those onion delivery cherries? Okay. So we do get a pretty deep attempt, it looks like, in onion delivery cherry here. It's always rough on that jump where there's just a bunch of traffic right after and you're almost going to guaranteed take damage anyway. Yeah, I was going to say, I remembered this being a pretty far run. I didn't remember it getting all the way to day 7 though, that's unfortunate. Is this another game? Yes, it is. We saw the Court in Time box get hit a lot in this week, after being a time box that I thought was like impossible. But a very unfortunate day 7 onion delivery loss. Basically at this point, isn't super beneficial on the board anyway, so I think seeing that she pivots out here. And meanwhile, during that deep attempt at that game, Van was able to grab that Mortal 2 square and the Big Bell Race square down at the bottom, even though that bingo got stopped, which is setting up a pretty nasty middle column bingo without the center square, which from personal experience can be kind of hard to see. I've been on both ends of a middle square bingo, basically either winning or losing me the game, and it would surprise you how hard it is in the middle of a match to see this bingo, because it doesn't look like a bingo until it gets filled in and you're like, oh shit, yep, that's 5. Especially when you're already like over an hour into the match, you're not always thinking about still having to stop bingo lines and stuff. And as you can see,
you've like blocked them all.
Yeah. And then unfortunately for Moritsuki, Van was uncontested in Metroidvania and just able to grab the first bingo of the season. But as I've been mentioning with everyone, even when the score is a little more in favor of one player over the other, I do think everyone's been playing really well and getting spaces and playing defensively and stuff. And most of the bingos that I've seen so far, at least in the recap of week 1, are either from one player being like super hyper aggressive and just pushing like 5 bingo lines at once and making it impossible to block, or more of a situation like this where it's kind of just like a sneaky bingo that's hard to see super late into a match. So even if you are getting bingoed in week 1 and or week 2, definitely don't feel bad about it, because it, again, from personal experience, can be very hard to see. Like, if you're watching this and you're like, well, I mean, how hard is it to see like 5 squares in a game? Seeing that while also managing what the hell you're supposed to be doing in a game, while also making sure that like the spaces that you want to go for are still on the board, is a lot of mental management, and you would be surprised at how sneaky bingo lines can be for that. Alright. So coming up next is not only both Breakfast and Flygon's first games of the season, it's both of their first ever league matches. This also was the very first game of the season, so a lot of hype in chat for this one, and a lot of excitement for both players in general in this one. Starting off with the board into board reveal, we get an immediate hyper contender Sephi race, which a corner square space is one of the most valuable spaces on the board, but was a little surprising as a viewer to see them immediately hop into the square specifically. Although that said, the center square on this board is beat 4 Emperors perfect with the first 5 waves, and we've seen from other games and even the higher tiers that a lot of people at least were scared of that goal in week 1. Oh, and we're back to 2 recaps now. Okay. And we're also on a new board. So after the hyper contender race that Flygon very barely won, Breakfast dips out and tries to go for the double Camp 2 synergy, while Flygon is going for the double Bug Hunter synergy. If you are able to get 4 pit kills on this job and then also win this job, you can mark off both spaces. And obtaining the Friendship Bracelet and clearing more woods too is like one level after the next. So theoretically some very good opening synergy. But we do see that Court is able to grab the 4 pits, and then we get a head-to-head Camp 2 race right after. For this being the opening week of the season, we weren't exactly sure how many like direct head-to-heads we were gonna get, especially since like we hadn't actually seen either player and an official league match yet. I believe Breakfast had done some of the underground, but this is definitely Frozen Flygon's first game of, not first bingo game ever, but first like official game ever. So getting to immediately see a head-to-head Camp 2 race was really exciting. Again, both of these goals are pretty much neck and neck, but Camp 2 can be pretty vicious, and if you aren't careful, is pretty easy to die in. We do see that Breakfast was holding a square, like cleared more woods, or Rink 2, and was able to mark that off. Despite that, Frozen Flygon does stay in, I guess seeing that Rink 2 got marked off, but not the shop. But unfortunately, goes into the shop and sees that it's 400 in the shop and backs out, not knowing that the red door in Morewoods 1 can have that friendship bracelet for 100. But I guess it was worth it for quitting out right after that, because you maybe don't know how far away it actually can be from there. We do get to see some extremely professional combatants play here. A game that we didn't really get to see a ton of in week 1, but we get to see some pretty much perfect management of one of the hardest levels of ants. Even at 4x, this game's not super fast. That's funny. But while Court is doing this, Breakfast spots the double synergy of collect 4 torpedo upgrades and show 20% completion. The torpedo upgrades aren't like a ton of percentage of completion in Borgie, but honestly, anything helps, and you normally end up collecting all of these torpedoes on the 20% route anyway, unless the 20% route changed between seasons. But here we get to see kind of what happens when combatants gets a little more out of control. The ants down here can sometimes be pretty aggressive about farming and spawning and stuff if you're not able to get down there like immediately. So Court kind of gets stuck in the loop of trying to bait one ant over at a time, but basically every time they kill one ant, 2 more spawn, and that's not a good situation to be in, so understandably quits out. Can come back in later for open field to or for ambush to just get the credit for that. You don't have to get both levels in like one sitting. You can do one and then come back and do the other. So at this point in the match, tied 2-2, we do get to see a little bit of unrouted rail heist, which is honestly some of my favorite rail heist. This goal for clearing out all of the barrels and root around is pretty tricky if you don't know what you're doing and are kind of just like feeling it out on the fly, because there's a lot of barrels in this level, and honestly the lawmen are pretty in the way of this level and don't ever really get out of your way. I think I've seen Keeney say that it's probably better to just kill all the lawmen and then go around and punch all the stuff, but you have to have a pretty specific setup to kill them all efficiently. Keeney? Oh. Meow. Get your all caps meows out in chat. Meow. Yeah. So a little bit farther in, I'll just skip forward a little bit. Both players kind of stick to their own goals again, and while bingo lines are being pushed, they're not being pushed like super aggressively, both because this is both players' first games and also because each other are blocking each other here. Like basically every square has been blocking a bingo line while also kind of working on a different one. So at this point in the game, both players are still definitely feeling out where the goals they feel comfortable with are, while also being pretty efficient about blocking most of the main bingo threats of the game. But seeing one of those threats forming, we do get a little bit of warp tank for Puzzler. It's always pretty interesting to see exactly how many or how much time is actually spent in warp tank in a game. I personally think if Puzzler's on the card with any kind of like decent warp tank synergy, that it's probably worth being in for a while. But this is admittedly not one of the better Puzzler boards for like doing all 15 levels or whatever in warp tank. So Court is able to beat the 2 main levels in ants and then go back in normally to beat the first 2 levels quickly, which is for the beat 4 levels in 5 games on this card goal. Theoretically could have used ants to just skip straight to the first 2 levels, but starting a fresh game and stuff works too. New development on the Choose saga. Cinder no longer recognizes him. Oh.
What?
Like as of today? as of right now.
What the fuck?
Huh.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I don't like that update.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that update either. I left, but it wasn't funny. I was just unsure of how to respond. I'm sorry.
It was an uncomfortable laugh.
Yeah.
Not a funny laugh.
Any excuse to show off warp tank skills is a good excuse. I agree. And I'm glad that Puzzler keeps showing up on boards, because it means that we theoretically can see a decent amount of warp tank. We do also get to see quite a lot of block koala, so for the blockheads in chat that are excited about this, we have gotten to see quite a lot about this game this week. So while Breakfast is working on Puzzler to push that bottom row bingo, Court doing a good job and popping into Devilition to try to get some synergy. Devilition synergy with goals is sometimes pretty tricky, because a lot of the goals kind of require you use the pieces in a pretty specific way. Like, this one requires you to destroy every human and demon each round, while the other goal requires you to just kill the demons for even longer. So a lot of the times, even though Devilition specifically shows up on boards multiple times, it can be sometimes kind of hard to work them into goals. We do get to see, for what it's worth, some pretty interesting, seemingly figuring it out live block koala strats here for some of the harder levels in the game to get through with Puzzler progress. This also counts for Beat 4 levels on games on this card also, so it is pretty fun to watch players figure out block koala live.
Has he still not peed Vex? I wonder if it's making him, like, smell different. Like, not like himself.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. I hope he's doing better soon. Oh yeah, he might just smell like the vet too. That's a good point.
Oh, maybe.
So popping back into block koala here, we do get to see the actual solution for level 42. This is notorious for being one of the easiest levels to cheese, because basically you just like walk down and then walk to the right. But trying to actually do this solution is much more difficult, because you end up having to bring this frog all around town to be on the switch at the end and push this block so it's on the end. But major shoutouts for doing the as intended strats for that one. So skipping ahead a little bit more. Tied 6-6, both players have at this point done a pretty good job of blocking off all but one of the remaining bingos left on the board. With a half hour left, Breakfast is starting to push the middle row bingo here, which still can be done in this time. Neither player is like super gift grinded yet, but 10 desserts is theoretically a fairly fast goal. Unfortunately, this goal here, Breakfast wasn't able to grab a couple of the early desserts, and because of that has to play much farther into Kick Club, where the desserts like aren't even on the dock or anything. So I remembered this being a little difficult to track exactly how many desserts Breakfast was actually at for this. because like everyone was kind of assuming he had made decent progress on it, but wasn't sure how many he had actually missed yet. So an hour and 30 into the match, with Flygon picking up a couple of other quick goals on the board, jumps out to 8-6, and with 10 minutes left, we do get a head-to-head, unrouted route around trying to destroy all barrels goal, which ends up being a really hype race, because both players are definitely figuring it out on the fly, and both get really close a couple of times. Like this run, for instance, Breakfast nearly has it, but runs out of time from standing up and getting punched by that guy at the very end. But with both of them basically having gotten this goal, if Breakfast were to get this goal, he would still need another goal to be able to even tie it up, and then another one after that to win. So with 10 minutes left, it's looking a bit tough, but Cord is able to just grab that goal anyway and go up 9-6 and basically seal the game from there. But once again, very well played by both players. The goals that were attempted in this game, I think the only one that players didn't get that they were going for was the 10 hidden desserts, which is honestly kind of like the most knowledge checky that Kick Club can get. And kudos to Breakfast for even making it the mid World of 4 in Kick Club, because hard game mode. Okay, 2 more games for B2, and then we'll be done with this recap for tonight. I guess it's getting kind of late. I did maybe want to try to do the daily bingo, but I should probably actually like eat and stuff. So let's get through these last 2 games, and then I'll probably call it for the night, and then we will be back with the C tier recap at some point later in the week. Most likely either Friday after my match with a guy, or Saturday before the match I'm casting, which if you joined in late, as a friendly reminder, Saturday, Games Done Quick is going to be hosting UFO 50 Bingo for Frost Fatales, and I will be on comms for that with Skousen, and we'll be commentating Karma versus Lizstar. So 2 B1 opponents facing off, with a current B1 player and a former B1 player that got promoted to A tier on commentary. So should be a pretty fun time. Hoping for a good back and forth game. It is also going to be draft bingo, so it's going to be games that the players are like definitely comfortable with, and it can potentially even be draft spicy bingo depending on if the donation incentive gets met. So stay tuned for that, because that's definitely going to be pretty fun. If you're watching this on YouTube, that will be Saturday, March 14th. So head on over to twitch.tv/GamesDoneQuick to watch more of that. So next up on the board is Zachary versus Hugh. We had Hugh pull out a 7-3 bingo win in this one. So let's go ahead and just get this game muted and get this started. Did not mean to turn sleep timer on. Did not even know that was a thing on YouTube.
It's like many other things.
Alright, for some reason, my notes for Zachary versus Hugh are the notes for Matt versus Morikanda, which is not even close to the same tier, so we'll just watch this one and figure it out live, because I definitely wrote notes for this game, but they weren't copied in correctly, apparently. So starting off, Overgrow is a very fast square, so understandable to go for. Speaking to two different bean NPCs is also a pretty fast square. The beans are kind of located all around the map, and depending on your map location, you can get them pretty quick, as we see there with Zachary marking that off in 2 minutes. Hugh is able to grab Overgrow and then try to go for the double synergy of the Fistel Gem. The Fistel Gem is a pretty terrifying gift, to be honest, because even if you're comfortable in Fistel, these enemies can kind of just gang up on you, and it's very easy for something like that to happen. But if Hugh is able to grab the wave 10 of the gem as victor, that'll count as 2 spaces on this board. And we do see Zachary come close to getting all of the crowns, but unfortunately dying right after spawning the last ones that they needed. So after a little bit more time in the gym, he was able to get through wave 7 but not wave 10, which at least means that he's able to mark off one of the squares of progress, and then start to work on the bingo line that he does eventually mark off. Camouflage level select is a pretty fast goal, but unfortunately he rolled one of the actual longest levels that can be pulled for this in level 14. But then pretty intelligently decides to reset for for actual progress in camouflage. I think realizing that the gift will potentially be pretty helpful later in the game, as well as wanting to beat 8 levels on this card. And meanwhile, Zachary is able to grab an Impact 4 crowns, or 3 crowns, so tied 2-2 early on. Both players are kind of just still doing their own thing. At this point in the game, it definitely looks like Hugh is more pushing the row 4 bingo, but neither player seems to really be directly pushing a bingo right now, while Hugh is making steady progress in camouflage in case he needs it later in the game. But I think now seeing the synergy of Paint Chase right next to each other, realizes that grabbing that corner square and progress towards Racer is more helpful at this point in the game. So it does just that. And then all of a sudden the column 1 bingo is being threatened pretty aggressively here. So we do see Zachary make the correct play, and they go into weak shot to beat stage 2, not knowing exactly how much progress in Porgy or the general goal that Hugh has, and just trying to get as far ahead on Seaside as possible. Unfortunately with this goal, if you die in stage 1, it makes stage 2 a lot harder for yourself because you don't get the bonus minigame. And we do see that here where Zachary gets a bonus game skip, which is technically faster speed-wise, but then puts them on 2 lives for the entirety of stage 2, which especially once the diamond laser things start to spawn can be a bit tight on space. So seeing the reset there, suddenly Hugh is actually ahead here, and weak shot's kind of a hard goal to gain time on, because you're already not killing most of the waves quickly. Your side shot when you're in weak shot is still just as strong as it could be fully powered up, so depending on the way the enemies line up, you can actually kind of take advantage of that a bit. But we see the life discrepancy here of starting off stage 2 right after the bonus game as opposed to farther in. Lives definitely are an issue with this seaside goal in particular. Most of the seaside goals, as long as you're getting at least 1 or 2 perfect stages and getting the continue, you're most generally okay. But this is one of the few seaside goals that's just kind of hard, even if you're playing it perfectly. So we do see a little bit of a hold here, and this ends up actually being a pretty interesting aggressive hold, because while I understand what he was going for here, we do see just how close Zachary is to beating this boss, getting it all the way down to the red before losing their final life there. But if they were able to complete that round, that blocks that bingo and then ties up the game and nullifies this threat. Fortunately for you, I guess, Zachary did fail to beat the boss and get stuck in here for a little bit, while Hugh is able to use this extra hold time to basically get all of the progress in Porgy that he needs, and then get the double mark and also use Porgy to defeat 6 enemy types. And both players are suddenly rushing to try to do a general goal that they're maybe not super comfortable with, given that this is a brand new general goal that ended up only lasting 1 week. But yeah, after 47 minutes or so, Hugh is able to grab the 7-3 bingo win. Honestly, a pretty aggressive seaside drive hold that ended up actually paying off for him, but very much could have backfired had Zachary been able to win that specific round. So GG's to both. I think Zachary got a little unlucky in terms of the arcade games, especially being a little rough for them this time. But sometimes bingo lines like this also just sort of happen quickly, and that definitely happened here because Hugh did a good job of planning out that line and then attacking it as he needed to for the win. So again, GG to both. Alright, and finally, the last game of B tier. I think we've definitely made much better pace overall tonight than we did for A tier stuff, so shoutouts once again to the Monday Night Bingo staff for helping out with the recaps of that, because it's definitely helped me be much more guided tonight than I was last night. Okay, so final game of Tier B2 from Week 1 is Hackeroni versus Willard. Hackeroni, again, another player that's moving up from last season, and Willard, another player that's brand new this season. So we got a lot of those matchups this week, and I was very excited to see how everyone responded. Getting into the game, you can see with how many pink squares are lit up. Campanella 2 has 3 spaces that it helps out on this board, and 2 of the Campanella 2 spaces on this board like directly synergize with each other, and 1 is a general goal that if you want to, you can keep playing Campanella 2. So definitely a very good Camp 2 board. Meanwhile, Willard is showing off a pretty clean, professional route to the breaks, which can be a pretty tricky goal, specifically because the bugs in the cave can sometimes be mean, but not to Willard. We do then see Willard make a decision to go into Rakshasa, which does help some of the general goals on this card, but mostly is just for a Rakshasa gold disc, which, while very cool, is only really helping this middle row bingo right now. That Hackeroni is already blocked, but is holding very slightly. specifically because they just saw Willard mark off golf area, so it's going to take at least a little bit of time to theoretically get through Burrows 2. And then instead just allows them to get the double mark and quit out right away. A little bit farther into the game, we get to see that Hackeroni's jumped out to a 5-2 lead by basically just grabbing all quick spaces within the first like 20 minutes or so. Working on one of the harder Ninpak goals of collect a coffee without ever firing a shot. This basically just means that you end up playing Ninpak Pacifist, which Ninpak is one of the harder games in the collection to do this with, because these enemies are absolutely everywhere and take up a lot of screen space, but we get to see some pretty sick dodges because of it. So down to Hackeroni's last life, they are going to have to get through this entire area, but we did get to see some cool dodges before that, at least. Like I mentioned, one of the harder Ninpak goals, so not surprising, but... And we get to see Fist Hall Jim kind of bare its teeth again. Pretty tricky goal, even when you're playing as a comfortable character, because the Fist Hall Gym just has a lot of enemies, and unless you're getting lucky with your spawns and also just getting the spawns, like, period, you're not normally having a lot of food to recover with between. But the tale of this match is definitely just Hackeroni very efficiently doing goals, while Willard is working on goals and completing them, but I guess going for harder goals, so they're like a little less consistent. That said, Willard does dip back in down 7-4 to grab the Rakshasa Gold Disc square. Which kudos, because Rakshasa Gold Disc is definitely a very scary square. For those that don't know, you technically have unlimited lives in Rakshasa, but every time you die, that recovery minigame and the game surrounding it can get harder and harder. So the more you die in Rakshasa, the harder it gets, which obviously in a bingo match where you may be dying a couple of times means that Rakshasa is typically a pretty hard bingo game. But we do get to see some pretty clean Rakshasa play here. I want to keep this going at least until Willard gets through the mini-boss up here. But yeah, as you've noticed maybe in this game, this is kind of one of those bingo games where players sort of just stuck to their own corners of the board and did whatever they wanted to do. Like I don't think there was a significant race like at all in this game actually, which is pretty interesting. But just because there's not like super wild races and head-to-heads and snipes and stuff, it doesn't mean that there's not a lot of like interesting stuff happening still. We do see a little bit of a Rakshasa head-to-head here, I guess, but I'm pretty sure this is just for gifts and not actually a head-to-head. So this mini-boss, by the way, for Willard, casually standing in the middle of that fire and then actually jumping over the fire and stuff over here, got a little unlucky in terms of getting back down to default weapon there, but did a really good job of staying alive still. And Willard is able to get through the final stage, grab the Rakshasa Gold Disc. Mostly just want to show off this clear because I think this is the first Rakshasa Gold Disc that's happened so far. And this game's hard, so... But yeah, without Hackeroni aggressively pushing bingos or Willard getting a chance to push for any bingos, this game basically just has both players kind of marking off goals that they know they can do without much interaction from the other player, which is kind of hard to come across in bingo because typically there's like at least like a little bit of overlap for stuff, even if the board itself is the one forcing it. But just the way this game played out, it kind of just so happened that both players were kind of just chilling and doing their own thing. And we do start to see Willard making a theoretical comeback here. If he's able to purchase 3 price-tagged items in a run and gold disc, he is able to jump back within 1 point of Hackeroni, while Hackeroni's having a little bit of difficulty with this Devilition gold. It's definitely giving people trouble. But unfortunately, Overbold gives people even more trouble. And while Willard is doing a good job of keeping pace, does bump up the money here to 1600 in a round before level 8 instead of just using the level 8 default amount to get the goal. And while he does a good job of surviving for a long time there, unfortunately does end up succumbing. And as we get towards the end of the match, even still this late into the game, players are kind of just doing their own goals that they feel comfortable doing. Hackeroni blasting out Campanella Trilogy stuff while Willard is working through to a Seaside Gold. And then we do, at the very end of the race, get to see a little bit of an NPEC race. As I mentioned in a different B-tier recap, only one goal really for NPEC is like actually able to be raced outside of it just being an auto-scroller and whoever starts it first gets it first. And this goal is hard enough that it kind of feels like it's a race based on who invests more time, but like you theoretically can just both get this on the first round, I guess. And there's absolutely nothing you can do to speed up that first round. So both players give this a good college try for a bit. This is definitely a pretty tricky goal before Willard eventually dips out to try to get other stuff. Hackeroni does eventually grab the coffee and the 13th space. And yeah, that was Tier B2 for week 1. Some very good, strong play from everyone in the tier again. I definitely actually like watching all of the games, and I'm very excited to see where B tier goes from here, because I've always had a personal bias towards B tier because I've been in B tier the entire time I've been in the league. And I think B tier definitely did not disappoint in week 1, and everyone had a moment to shine and show off some cool stuff, which is nice. And yeah, so I guess with that we'll do one last refresh of the stats from any games that came in like in the middle of Monday Night Bingo, I guess. Bug Hunter, Hyper Contender, and Barbuda are still our top games. Again, showing the value of your general goals, since 5 are showing up on every board, and they're pretty likely to show up. Like, you'll probably see the same general goals a couple times throughout the season. They are definitely worth going for, learning, and kind of learning some of the weird stuff you can go for to help. So there's the last scroll of total stats. Still working on these other ones. How many completed Rakshasa gold discs? Oh, because that stat hasn't been updated because that game was on Twitch, right? So whenever those stats do get logged for the game that we just watched, that'll be the first Rakshasa Gold disc of the season. So I was correct on that. Cool. Okay, so that was about a 3-hour recap for 2 tiers, which is more in line with what I am aiming for this. I didn't update the ticker at all for B2, sorry y'all. And I also forgot to update the board for the last game. I at least was better about the board than the ticker. The ticker just hasn't been updated at all, but I'll update it now. There we go. Okay. So we will be back either Friday after my bingo match or Saturday morning / afternoon. Maybe even Sunday. I'm not sure. We do have more family stuff on Sunday, so probably not. But I'm also trying to make sure that we don't fall behind on Monday Night Bingo. Because while I don't mind doing this 3 times a week to make sure we're recapping, I will, that guy straight up will not be able to catch up if I fall behind at all. So, stay tuned to the Discord, either the UFO 50 Discord or my personal Discord, to figure out when C-tier recaps are happening. But they should be happening soon. I guess just to recap the other events that are happening, I have a match against a guy Friday evening after work. And we'll either be going into the recap after that or just chilling, depending on how I feel, I guess. And then Saturday evening at about 4 p.m. Pacific, we will be hosting a UFO 50 bingo match over at twitch.tv/GamesDoneQuick. Karma and Liz will be playing against each other, and Skousen and I will be commentating. So if you're watching back this VOD and want to check that out, Saturday, March 14th, feel free to be there, because it should be pretty fun. Most likely we will end up kind of dedicating a pretty decent chunk of the Monday night recap next week to show off that match, even though it's not a league match or whatever. But I do like to highlight those kind of special event matches that do get casted and stuff also. So okay. So I think that went pretty well. Let's go ahead and find a friend to pass y'all off to. Is Guri still alive, actually? No. Okay. No, but Winterbit's working on Dark Cherry, so let's go pass y'all off over there. Okay. Have a good night, y'all. Winterbit is playing some UFO 50 and seems like they're working on the Diver's Dark Cherry. I'm not actually sure what the Diver's Dark Cherry entails, but it should be fun either way. No stream tomorrow because we're hanging out with my mom tomorrow night. Potentially a stream on Friday after I have my bingo cast, and if I do end up streaming on Friday night, it'll probably be a C-tier recap. I don't think I'm going to be streaming on Saturday before game's done quick, but I guess there's a potential shot of it. And then no stream on Sunday again, so it's a little sporadic for this weekend, but just stay tuned to the Discord and I'll update y'all then. Have a good night. I'm going to go ahead and raid now and end the stream and stuff and get this up on YouTube. So, bye.